the ultimate difference maker at a college is always the people and the friends that you make and the relationships that you get to build.
Hey. We're back. We got a special interview today. Erik Porter, D2 coach of the University of Mary. Oh, there he is. Right there. I was just doing an intro for you. I don't think David's going to come, so I think we should just rip from
All right,
right
let's
now.
rip it. Sounds good.
And if he comes in, great. First, want to give a little shout out to our sponsor. We got Dakota Roasters. So got to rep them. Promo code tennis if you go on their website, buy some coffee. But how are you doing, Erik?
I'm doing good. We busy schedule with the Marauders leading into the end of April here, but enjoying a Sunday off, and looking forward to the week ahead.
Yeah, there we go. One interesting stat that I was looking at your team, and it's kind of almost like a trivia question in a way. You have a lot of girls from different countries, outside the United States, international players, you could say. So the trivia question that I came up with for you, I should say, which one of your players is from, well, on their website, the University of Mary website, their athletic website, it says where they're from, the cities and the countries. What player is the furthest away from Bismarck of your team? If you were to make a guess. I did do the calculations, so I do know.
I'm gonna say Chloe from Malaysia would be the farthest.
That is what I thought as well when I was looking through the numbers, but that is not true. She was the second. Do you have a second guess?
If it's not her, then I would have to say Zimbabwe must be farther.
Yep. Zimbabwe is further. 9,060 miles from Bulawayo to Bismarck.
Yeah.
And then it was, let's see here. So one of the other, Le Locle, was Switzerland.
Yep.
That was 4,616. And then the other long one was Malaysia, and that was 8,699.
Oh,
So
it's
super
close.
close.
Wow.
With a bunch of international players, obviously it's your first year, being in your gig, as the head coach there. Is it hard to kind of manage the international, cultural differences and kind of that blend?
It's a good question. I think yes, there is an adjustment period that our players go through for sure when they first arrive. I mean, our campus is a kind of a unique place, just in general, but I think once they get a couple of years under their belt, maybe 1 year, I really don't notice any issues or differences. As far as coaching approach goes, I think when I first started with the team in 2022 as an assistant, I think coming in, I was like, oh, I'll have to coach differently, maybe. And that has just not been true at all. It's it's the same experience. Athletes are athletes, and college people are college people. So that's definitely universal.
Are you trying to recruit internationally right now for years to come?
Yeah, I am. I think it's a good part of a healthy recruiting strategy. I think whereas in the past few years we've been a pretty overwhelming majority international, I think I'd like to get closer to a 50-50 split. Um, just because I've kind of learned from some of the other teams in our conference, and the teams who have more domestic players, um, their spectator presence because of families and supporters, I'm sure is just stronger,
Mhm.
and so I want that for our team too, and I think at the same time, international players bring great, um, world views and perspectives to a sports team, so I want that to be part of our team, our program as well, and so that's where I'm kinda going with the hopefully a 50-50 split. I'd like to have, um, not exact, of course, but some international players and some local, regional, and national type of, athletes.
And so you're looking internationally, local to kind of build. I'm sure that helps with donors as well. If you have some local players, maybe they can they've seen them come up through the ranks and they're a little bit more willing to give the money to the program,
Mm.
knowing that they're a local kid, like a Felderman, for example, who are from Mandan area.
Yep.
Um, but do you think that you know uh, or I totally forgot what I was gonna say. Shoot. Um, do you think that oh my gosh, I'm having a mind blank, Eric, sorry.
It's okay.
Today, Junior!
Let me just fucking reset here.
Yeah.
Get some water.
Yeah, you're good.
So you just came off a 4-3 victory against MSUM. Had some close three setters. You had Chloe at the top playing Shea. Is there any particular strategy or anything that you do personally when you have a player going through a 2 or 3 set battle that's super tight? Is there anything that you do as a strategy to kind of help them out?
It's interesting. Depends on the player's personality for sure. I'd say on our team right now, a lot of our players have kind of um, they appreciate a coach's presence nearby, and whether or not obviously the things I try to say on the court are hopefully important too, but I think more than anything during close matches like that, just being a presence for them and reassuring and just kind of yeah, if their thoughts are racing themselves, then I try to be, a little bit more calm and confident, I
Mhm.
guess, in them. And, vice versa, if I've got a really calm player who kind of withdraws into themselves, maybe I'll be a little bit more energetic as matches get closer. But it's using yesterday as an example. There's not a ton of tactics that change, um, at least in the specific case of yesterday. There wasn't anything that I was having to make adjustments on the fly or anything with our players. It was just stay committed to kind of the plan that we had talked about before the match, and from there just trust yourself. That's um, all the matches that were close yesterday. That was kind of repeated plenty of times throughout the afternoon.
And you said that you started, as assistant coach out there a few years back, and then you just went into the head coaching position just this year. And honestly, we had an interview set up before you started, just to kind of talk about, what you were expecting, experiences and stuff like that. But we missed the boat. So now we have a little bit of a different perspective on, hey, what have you learned so far? Have you learned something about the position that you didn't expect going into it? And yeah, I guess what are some of the challenges that you've faced going into your role?
Yeah, I think going into the position, I um, I anticipated a little bit more. I don't know how to say, like, tennis focused time almost, where um, I was an assistant with the program, and Vita did a good job of kind of showing me the roles and responsibilities that go into being a head coach. But at the same time, there's a lot that doesn't sink in until you're actually doing it. And so, yeah, I mean, I love um, planning practices. I love being on court. I love working with our team. Um, and so that, when you hear tennis coach, that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind are those tennis specific duties. But there's so much more that I have gotten, you know, become aware of that goes into being a head coach. Um, whether it's travel planning and putting it together a good itinerary for a road trip or um, reserving, rental vehicles or scheduling matches and you name it, the list goes on. But those sorts of things have become almost just as fun in a way. It's like if I can if I can improve these quote unquote small things, will they help me, when I'm on the court? And I think the answer is yes. So that's been a really big learning moment for me throughout the course of the year. Other thing has just been recruiting. That's one that um, I observed as an assistant, but didn't really take as much of an active role in. And so now as a head coach, being kind of the strategist behind, okay, what kind of program do we want? How do we find players that fit that program that we want? It's tough. It's a challenge. Um, you kind of lean back on your own experiences a little bit, I think. And for me, I didn't participate much in the kind of traditional recruiting process.
Mhm.
And so, uh, there hasn't been a lot where I can look back and say, "Oh, I really liked what X or Y coach did," because, I don't there wasn't a whole lot to choose from.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's been a challenge is learning, number 1, and just experimenting and putting myself out there and having conversations with athletes. It's like anything, you gotta get the reps in. You're not
Mhm.
gonna have a perfect email or perfect phone call, um, right away, and that's been another learning moment that I have to keep putting University of Mary on athletes' radars, and hopefully we'll make some progress in that area too. But everything else, um, from a team perspective, like personalities, cultures, kinda like the communication, people skills of it. It's been a really, really smooth year. Our team is just really pleasant people, and it
Yeah.
makes such a big difference, for how the enjoyment of a season goes, and so, yeah, I couldn't be happier with how things are going in that respect, and it's also, like, even when things are going well, you take lessons from that too, and you start to think about, "Okay, how can I make sure that we create this every year, and it's not just a coincidence that we
Mhm.
happen to have a good team," but no, um, it's good. The athletes are great. Um it's fun to go on road trips,
Mhm.
some groups you can start to dread, these long extended time periods that you have to spend with each other as a coach, but that's just not the case. It's really, really fun group to be a part of.
And you mentioned, the culture that you guys kind of have and good group of ladies to be around and be with, coach, whatnot. What kind of traits, as a recruit, are you looking for to kind of maintain, that culture and that consistency year over year?
Yeah, yeah. I think I think number 1, uh, is teams gotta come above self, um, and it's interesting in the tennis world. It's an individual game. People are used to um, emphasizing themselves. Just comes naturally, and I think college tennis is such a unique environment because because it is a team experience. You're sharing practice courts for hours a day. You're sharing vans and hotel rooms and meals and all these things for hours a day with these people. So if you don't care about the collective experience, that team um, emphasis, then I think it's a lot harder to be successful. Not impossible, but just again, though, for what I'm looking for, I think I really want athletes who say, yes, I want to improve my game, my personal game, but I also want to make my teammates better, and I also want to be a part of a successful team. I think that's number one. Um, I think other traits that come to mind, um, just being coachable, wanting feedback, wanting suggestions. And again, our team right now does a great job of this. They'll search me out and say, what do you think about this? And that's kind of the outlook that I want our players to have. And again, it's tough. You in some cases, athletes spend their whole lives with a private coach or club instructor, and then they go to college, and it's like, or parent, and then they go to college, and it's like this new person is trying to tell me what to do, and being able to like work together, like that's kind of the mindset I have as a coach is I'm not going to enforce or mandate a particular um, playing style or strategy or decision or anything like that, but I do want to talk about it, and so um, having that personality of yes, I'm willing to think about things differently and try things out. That's another big thing is, are you willing to experiment with a different with a different approach to tennis, and maybe you try it for a couple practices and it goes poorly and you try something else. But the I think that's the name of the game, especially as you develop yourself as a player, is do you just ride the level that you've got to the whole time, or are you still looking for ways to improve and actively trying things to help you do that? So those are a couple things that come to mind. But in general, I mean, I think being able to be a good communicator, uh, treat your teammates with respect, kind of those basic qualities are things that you have to keep an eye on. You don't want to. It's it's it would be a mistake to bring someone in that is maybe lacking in one of those areas. So um, yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts on traits that are important to me.
And I do remember, and I remember this a few minutes ago, but my brain fart earlier. This is where I was trying to lead with it. But the international recruits.
Mhm.
How do you go and find an international recruit? Like what? Because it seems like every single college team has a couple different people from out of across seas somewhere. How do you find these people? Is it an agency? Do they reach out to you? Like how do they find you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'll tell you what it's been for me, with the with the caveat that there may be a better way to do it that I'm missing out on. But yeah, I'd say as a college coach, your name gets added to these databases that recruiting agencies develop, and so I'd say a lot of the outreach that I've gotten has been inbound to me from either a recruiting agency or the athlete themselves. They'll pay a certain amount of money for a list of coaches, and then they'll just send out a mass email
Mhm.
and see what they get back. And so if you're one that responds, it makes a big difference. But then you start to think about, okay, how do I filter these recruits? How do I evaluate them?
Mhm.
I tennis teams are small and there's not room for everybody. So how do you um, make sure that of these people who are reaching out and trying to get recruited, who actually does? Um, and so that's something I'm very much still learning and not an expert on by any means. Um, there also are a lot of databases that coaches can access of players,
Mhm.
where then it would be the coach reaching out and initiating those conversations, and that's where I'd like to get to more, where I'm identifying these players that seem intriguing,
Mhm.
and and then starting some interaction from there. But I haven't had I haven't had much of that up to this point. We're filled pretty much for 2025, but I'm looking for 2026 fall of 2026 recruits now. So that's something I want to look at for that kind of cycle.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I'd say right now, uh, it's probably feels like 3 or 4 emails a day from either an athlete or an agency that says, "Take a look at this player, take a look at, here's my video,
Mhm.
let me know what you think," type
Mhm.
of communication, and it's, and I know that other schools are using that, pipeline too, because I'll see names on rosters of people who are like, "Oh, I remember, they reached out to me, and maybe we had a phone call,
Mhm.
uh, or whatnot," and so I it does work.
Mhm.
It is successful. So yeah, that's up to right now, that's where we're finding the international players.
Mhm. And recruiting goes both ways. It's on the coach's side, trying to identify those players, or like you said, maybe you're getting some data inbound, but it's also on the player too to build a connection with their potential schools and stuff that they want to go to. Is there any advice or anything that maybe that you've seen um, that would help a recruit? Maybe they're a junior in high school and they're eyeing up UMary as a potential school option. What could they do to increase their likelihood of getting to UMary and being on a team and earning a potential scholarship that would go above and beyond, or do something that the rest aren't doing? Is there anything that would, oh wow, like this is something that's unique?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think for me, the first thing is, um, have any messaging come from you personally. Uh, don't have your parents reach out, don't have your recruiting agent reach out. Send a message from your email address and sign it with your name. And obviously, yes, you want to cast a wide net. I totally understand you're trying um, to get the best fit possible for your future college experience. But as much as you can, personalize those emails. If I ever see a note that says something about the University of Mary specifically, or "Hey, coach, saw you had a nice match last weekend against such and such opponent," or uh, "I was doing some looking into Bismarck and seems like a XYZ type of place," and stuff like that. That stuff is what piques my interest, and those emails I will respond to 100% of the time. The the other stuff, where you can tell that it's completely, just blanket general mass email. Um, I do read them. I do click on the links, but unless something really jumps out, those are probably at 20 to 30 percent response rate. So yeah, I'd say on your initial reach out, be as personal as you can, and then don't be afraid to take ownership of the process. Like, as coaches, we have timelines that we want to work under too. But if you're a recruit and you want to speed things along, keep reaching out. Like, I, um, a lot of times athletes think that they shouldn't talk to a coach unless a coach talks to them first, or maybe you send them an initial email, you have a phone call, and then you wait.
Hmm.
And and if you're interested in a particular school, I'd say don't wait. Just keep the communication line going, and coaches like to see that interest, and it'll serve the opposite purpose that you want in the end, which is the coach to be um, more engaged. So that would be the other thing is don't be afraid to keep communicating with a coach after an initial response.
Hmm.
And it's like the more you can take ownership of your own process, the better. Like, if you want to visit, tell the coach you want to visit. If you
Mhm.
want to talk to a player, tell the coach you want to talk to a current player. Um, those are all things that will eventually come up from my end, but the more agency and ownership I think you can take as a recruit, that for me anyway, that um, those are qualities that are impressive to me and things that I would want, I guess,
Mhm.
on my team.
And it's not a secret that UMary is not the only Division II women's tennis team out there. There's a lot of other schools within the NSIC, which is the conference that you guys play in,
Mhm.
and other schools as well. What is there any pitch or anything that you have a go to, or to kind of sell, to level up the school, or how you explain it to a recruit that would maybe give your school a little bit of an edge?
Yeah, I think, that's the game, right? Is to figure out what makes your school stand out across all these other options. And just in our conference, I mean, there's so many good coaches, so many good programs, nice campuses, affordable. And so, I have a tough time leaning on any one of those, and in particular because it's just like, okay, well, every school says that, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think for us, I think as a athletic department, we treat our athletes really well. And in talking to um, our hockey coach, who is actually the sports supervisor for tennis, and they are in the ACHA, and so they don't have any athletic scholarships. And so we were talking, and I said, how do you, what's your pitch when money is not involved at all? And you could have that same conversation with a lot of D3 coaches. And he said, number one thing is how we treat our players. You come to UMary, and you're going to be well taken care of. Parents know that their kids are going to be well taken care of, and and it's true. Every sport, and myself too, in tennis, I'm always thinking about uh, how can we make this a 5-star experience for our team.
Mhm.
And so like, it goes back to, what type of hotels are we staying at? What type of restaurants are we eating at? What type of apparel are we ordering? Um, are we serving our players at practices? Are we doing things? Are we gripping their rackets for them if they ask? Small things, but I think that piece goes a long way.
Mhm.
Um, I also think, if you really, it's hard to sell. Um, it's hard to sell a relationship, I guess. That's
Mhm.
kind of what it is. Um, you are asking a young person to go to your school, live there, spend all these hours with you,
Mhm.
dedicate a significant portion of their week to you and your sport and your program. And so I think getting recruits, I want to get recruits to know me as a coach. And if they feel that I'd be a good coach for them, then I think that's the ultimate selling point. And
Mhm.
not everybody will think that, of course, and that's okay. You know? I think, the ultimate difference maker at a college is always the people and the friends that you make and the relationships that you get to build. And so, again, it's a hard thing to sell, but I want players that feel like they'd get along well with me and appreciate my philosophy and approach, and um, that's who I'm ultimately trying to get on my team. And it's one of those things where uh, I almost don't want. Um, I want to be as transparent as I can, and that's something that I think some college coaches fall a little bit flat on sometimes, where they just go into sell mode regardless of what's going on with the athlete or themselves. And even some of our current players or previous players where um, they weren't quite sure what to expect coming in
Mhm.
either. And so that's where my philosophy changes to, okay, I'm gonna try to be as upfront as possible. Here's who I am. Here's how I run practices. Here's how I schedule things. Um, here's what the school's like. And if somebody is drawn to that, then that's who I'm selling to. And if somebody isn't, then we wish them the best of luck. And there's many great programs that they can choose from in our region and in the country. But uh, yeah, it's a good question. I like that one because that's the ultimate challenge is how do you get your own school and your own program to stand out? And I think the way we treat people is number one, but ultimately the people involved themselves are number two, the current players and the coaching staff.
Two things that I think are super different at UMary than some other colleges are one, the view. The
Yes.
UMary up on the hill. If you're not familiar, and I'll put a picture up on the screen right now, just to kind of show what I'm like explaining. But
Yeah.
UMary is perched up on this hill in Bismarck, and it has an insane view. It feels like I'm in the Lion King and you're on the top of that thing and you can just see everything out there. That's
Yes.
how and you're raising up like Simba or
Yep,
whatever.
exactly.
That's the first thing, just the view. If I was a college student, I think that'd be insane. Like you just get you're walking to class and you just get to see that, all the time. I think that's
Mhm.
super cool. And a lot of other other schools in your conference, they don't have that. And I would argue most of them don't have that.
Mhm.
The second part that I believe sets you guys apart, and I know you touched on this. Um, I don't know exactly when this was, but is the connection with the Mandan Tennis Center and in the University of Mary. I believe you said you have a 5-year contract with the college and the Mandan Tennis Center, but obviously like you and your dad and your family in general, I should say, have kind of like got that thing going out there, and having that in your back pocket or as a recruiting tool of some sort has got to be like uber like like valuable
Yeah.
to be able to use that.
Yep, exactly right. I think that's both true. Yeah. I think um the view number one is a good selling point. Um Only thing is during the school year, because of, I mean, the elevation, which gives us such a great view, also makes it super windy. So it does get a little bit gnarly in the winter. But yeah, I mean, it is beautiful out there, and getting to go to campus every day and look out at the prairies is and the river is really cool. And I think students definitely latch on to stuff like that too. Um, and then yeah, the relationship with the tennis center has been really good for you, Mary. And they were when before I had even started as an assistant coach, Vita um, was kind of in charge of bringing you, Mary, to Mandan Tennis Center. And then as I became associated with the program, the relationship just kind of grew. And so yeah, we actually, I mean, it's a indefinite, perpetual relationship between the two of us. Um, we we play all our home matches there. We practice there uh, from October onward. Get some outdoor practices in September, and then go inside from there. But yeah, it is great, and I think one thing too um, that helps with players recruits that You can tell that they kind of have the tennis, they have the tennis bug, and they're looking to play a lot. Is the university pays for a season pass for all of the players on our roster, and so that of course includes practice time, but it also includes everything else too. So um, if they can get themselves to the facility, uh, they have free unlimited court time, which is a nice benefit for them. Um, the one downfall is that it's about a 20-minute drive from campus, um, which is not terrible at all, but uh, for for our current team is limited when it comes to vehicles
Mhm.
that they have access to. So that does play a role, things like that. But yeah, it is a definite selling point. It's can we compete with the Gustavus, who's got a great facility right on their campus, or um, the Huther family match point in Sioux Falls, 10 beautiful indoor courts. No, we can't compete with that. But it is nice. Um, it is, it's, I'd say the other nice thing about it is that the general community that's just going to the tennis center to play has built a connection with the Marauders.
Mhm.
And so when we go to practice, we've got now just general players who have gotten to know our team and are giving them fist bumps and say, how'd you do last weekend, and good luck, and all these things. And so that I think is the best benefit, is you start to build this community involvement at your facility, and then you go out and you watch you get to see our team practice, and a lot of recreational players are like, wow, I had no idea that the level was like so high in Division 2. And so it's just a mutual, absolutely mutual benefit, where we love the connections that we get to make as part of playing over there and practicing over there, and the tennis center benefits by having its patrons get to see, oh yeah, this is some good tennis, and we get to play here too, type of thing.
Yeah, and the ability to have your tennis center, which is a newer tennis center within the last 5 years, and
Yep.
then you and your role being in the last 5 years as well, you have this opportunity to kind of like grow and grow together, where the facility, the Mandan Tennis Center isn't at capacity. It's not like you're trying to try to get your team in there. You can kind of like go in there and and you know be an addition and add value to this tennis center and give them business.
Yep.
But then also the tennis center can see that and like, okay, yeah, we want to keep this, this this chunk of our day and in our time here. So we want to build this relationship, and that symbiotic relationship between the school and the facility where these people are playing is so massive. I
Yeah.
mean, from my experience, just going at Concordia and you as well, it's we didn't have the opportunity to go and play whenever we want and get Concordia to pay for that time. Actually, now they can, which is very unique, just because of practice times and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But we would be practicing from 9 to 10:30 p.m. at night, because that's when we could get courts, because it
That's
was so busy.
Yep.
You don't have any patrons there watching at 9 to 10:30. You have there's no relationship with the other people.
Right.
People aren't just walking through to go and play tennis, and they see the team. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see the positive in that as well. And I kind of want to wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Erik, for chatting and kind of explaining the recruiting process and what you're looking for. What's the best way, if a recruit is watching this, for them to reach out to you?
Yeah. Great question. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Best ways is to email me, ecporter@umary.edu. I see everything that comes through there, and that's That's the number one way.
All right, there we go. Thank you so much, Erik.
Do up, diddling,